Hi, welcome to today's video in the Data Librarian Bootcamp series brought to you by the Galicia Group. Today we're going to use a little-known feature of Google Sheets to make a state-by-state thematic map, what cartographers call a Choropleth. And here's an example of what that looks like. Here we've got Google Sheets, we've got a table of state GDPs, and over here is our Choropleth map. And you can see that California is obviously the highest, shaded blue. And then as that shifts down through purple to red to the lower values, you can see those represented here as well. So again, this is one of the built-in chart types in Google Sheets, and today we'll see how to make that from start to finish. First thing we need to do as data librarians is find the data that we're going to use. So let's go ahead and take a look at our data source here. We'll just search for a list of US states by GDP. And here is Wikipedia's entry. Let's go ahead and click that. Now we can copy and paste the table in here into Google Sheets. But instead, let's go ahead and take advantage of another Google Sheets feature, ImportToHTML. In the next tab, I've got a brand new Google Sheet with no data in it yet. Let's go ahead and give it a title here. And now we need to actually import our data. So again, instead of copying and pasting, Google Sheets lets us actually import HTML table data or list data directly into a series of cells here. Here's the import HTML function. And let's take a look at what the parameters for this function are. The first thing we need is the actual link, the URL. So I've actually copied that already. Oops. Let me go ahead and copy it here. This is the URL of the Wikipedia page that contains our GDP table. So we'll paste that in as our first field. Close that with quotes. The next value we need to add is the query. Are we looking for an HTML table or an HTML list? Now this is an HTML table, so we'll go ahead and note that in the query. And finally, we need to know what number of table on the page is it. Now, this honestly just takes a little playing around. Most websites have at least one embedded table that's used as navigation. Wikipedia pages often have a couple different tables on them, so you might need to experiment. But I know from having already tested this, that this specific table, the list of US states, districts, and territories by GDP, is table number 3 on this page. So in my import document, I'll go ahead and use index number 3, and that is my function. So all I need to do now is hit enter, give it a few seconds to download and parse the data from Wikipedia, and here we are. Pretty neat. Now, just like any other set of data, we could go ahead and insert a maybe a pie chart showing the percentage that each state has of the national GDP, or we could use a bar chart or line chart and show the top 10 states and how they compare. But again, we want to use the map chart. So what I need to do now is, just like any other chart, select the range of data that represents what I want to map or what I want to chart. So we will select our range here, starting from California, and we will skip the territories down here. Okay, so now I've selected the range, and I'm including just the states and the actual GDP value. From here, we'll go ahead and go to the Insert menu and Insert Chart. Now again, at this point, it's just like using any other chart in Google Sheets or LibreOffice or Microsoft Excel. You can see by default, it tries to give me a histogram here, a type of line chart. And then there's some other suggested charts as well. For instance, the column and bar chart would show us here again, California, New York, going all the way down here to past Wyoming. Okay, but again, we're looking for the map chart. So let's keep on scrolling down until we get to the map charts. Now we actually have two kinds of map charts available. The Geo Chart, which is what I refer to as a Choropleth, and then a Geo Chart with markers, which uses colored or sized icons to represent data. So let's go ahead and make a Geo Chart here. Now, one of the limitations of this feature is that Google only includes a certain number of regions that you can choose from. So over here in my chart editor, you can see my setup here. The region is the United States. And I'll just show you what some of the other regions are as well. If we go to Customize, and then in the Geo section, we can choose what our region actually is here. So we've got a world map, and then each of the continents is represented, and then the United States is included. So this isn't going to work if you want to use do a map of counties or townships, something like that. This tool really only works for US state or country by country world thematic maps. So by default, we've got some interesting shading here, and that's mainly because California is such an outlier compared to some of the other states here. So I don't like this default shading here. I'm going to go ahead and change it. You can see that the minimum states are colored red, the mid-range states are colored sort of a grayish pink, and then the maximum states are colored green. That's California. Let's go ahead and make that more of a spectrum instead. So let's go ahead and make it from red to blue. And then let's assign purple as the midpoint. And again, that gives us a little more naturally useful view of the data that we have here. So again, California is blue, it's the maximum with the GDP represented here, and then it scales down to the red states as well. So here's our chart. One of the cool things about Google Charts is that they're interactive. So if I hover over any state, I can see what the value is. And then also, if you notice down in the legend in the bottom corner under Alaska there, you can see where it falls roughly on the spectrum. Very neat. There's also some other cool features here. We can download the chart directly as an image here, as a PNG. We can publish the chart itself to a website as well. So you can actually embed this on your blog or on your library's website and give people the option to interact with it there live, again, or just save it as a static graphic image. Let's go ahead and shrink this down a little bit here. And then we'll just slide it over so it's not obscuring the data. So there we go. We use the ImportToHTML tool to import data from an existing public table on the web. We managed our data in Google Sheets, and we visualize it using Google Sheets' own Choropleth tool. So thanks again for joining us on the Data Librarian Bootcamp series from the Galicia Group, and feel free to reach out to us if you have any questions. Thanks.